The first thing I felt was pain, an intense, pounding ache in the back of my skull as I slowly came to inside the pitch-black trunk of a moving vehicle. My wrists were tightly bound, and the air reeked of old gasoline and rusted metal, stinging my lungs with every breath. Disoriented, I blinked through the darkness, trying to piece together what had happened. Then it hit me. Just last night, I was in my living room when my wife Allison handed me a glass of wine. That's the last thing I remember. It didn't take a genius to figure out what had happened. She had drugged me. I stayed perfectly still, straining to listen. Faint voices filtered through the seats from the front of the car. One of them was Allison. The other, a deep, self-assured male voice that struck an unsettling chord of familiarity. As I focused harder, a chilling realization settled over me. It was Sheriff Tom Rollins, her so-called yoga buddy. I'd never trusted him, and now I knew why. They were in on this together, driving me to some unknown location, assuming I was just a clueless husband. But they had no idea who I really was. For the past 2 years, I'd been working deep undercover with the FBI, investigating police corruption across several counties. My real identity was buried so deeply that not even Allison knew the truth. I thought I was protecting her. I thought what we had was real. But now I understood. This wasn't just betrayal. She wasn't simply cheating. She was trying to eliminate me. And unknowingly, she'd gotten tangled up in a federal investigation. Eventually, the car came to a halt. I heard a key turning in the trunk lock. I snapped my eyes shut and lay still. The trunk creaked open, and a rush of cool air hit my face. "Still out," Tom muttered. "Let's get him inside before anyone notices." They each grabbed an arm and dragged me out like a discarded object. I stayed limp, counting each step across the gravel until they dumped me onto a wooden floor. A door slammed behind us, followed by the click of a lock. When the coast was clear, I opened my eyes and took in my surroundings. A bare room with no windows, a single flickering light overhead, and one lonely chair in the corner. My wrists were still tied, but my legs were free. That was their first mistake. They underestimated me. I inched over to a jagged nail sticking out of the wall. It took a while, but I eventually sawed through the rope. 20 minutes later, my hands were free, and my instincts kicked in. I searched the room and found an old phone in a drawer. No signal. I didn't panic. I had a GPS tracker stitched into my jacket lining, something only the Bureau knew about. Help was already on its way. While I waited, I heard muffled voices through the thin walls. Allison was giggling. "Once he's gone, it's just us," she said sweetly. "You're sure no one's going to find out?" Tom asked, sounding more anxious than confident. "He was just a boring teacher, right?" he added. I nearly laughed. That high school history teacher persona had fooled them all. They never suspected what I really was. Just then, tires crunched on gravel outside. Flashing red and blue lights spilled in through the cracks in the wooden walls. I grinned. Perfect timing. In moments, FBI SWAT agents burst through the cabin. Doors slammed, shouts echoed, and in less than 2 minutes, Allison and Tom were face down on the ground in handcuffs, both shouting in confusion. I stepped outside, bruised and bleeding but on my feet. Agent Ramirez, my field contact, rushed over. "Kane, are you all right?" he asked urgently. I gave a faint nod. "I am now." Allison's eyes locked with mine as they hauled her toward the cruiser. The second she saw my badge, her face drained of color. "You were with the FBI?" she choked. "This whole time? You lied to me." I stepped closer, looked her straight in the eye, and said, "No, Allison. You lied to me. I just gave you the chance to show who you really were." Later at HQ, everything began to connect. Tom was part of a criminal network that stole evidence and money from crime scenes. Allison had helped him wash the dirty cash. The two of them had been under suspicion for a while, but we lacked hard evidence, until now. Without even realizing it, they handed me exactly what we needed. In the most personal way imaginable. The case made national headlines. Sheriff and wife of undercover FBI agent arrested in massive corruption case. I was offered a promotion. I turned it down. Not because I didn't deserve it, but because I needed time. Not for the agency. For me. I had loved her, trusted her, and she would have watched me die without blinking. That kind of betrayal leaves scars deeper than any wound. Eventually, I returned to that quiet little town. Not as a teacher. Not as a husband. Just as myself.